Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, attorney Henry Gornbein. Please watch us on the Gracefully Graying YouTube channel, like us on Gracefully Graying, and share us with your friends and whoever. Today on Gracefully Graying, I'm pleased to welcome as my guest, quite frankly, my favorite professor when I was a student at Monteith College, which was then part of Wayne State University in the early 60s. So welcome to Gracefully Graying, Dr. Martin Herman.
Thank you, Henry. It's good to see you again.
Marty, first of all, why don't you tell our viewers a little about your background, how you ended up at Monteith College?
Yes, I was born and brought up in Brooklyn, New York. I attended the public school through my elementary years. I attended Stuyvesant High School, which is one of the preeminent public high schools in the country. It was at the time one of three entrance exam requirement high schools in New York, the other two being Brooklyn Tech and Bronx High School of Science. At the time, it was all males, only boys. I then, when I graduated from Stuyvesant, I did my undergraduate work at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. Most of my graduate work at Yale, I say most of my graduate work because I was enrolled in a doctoral program at Yale beginning in 1950 and then was drafted out of the program during the Korean War, served in the Army between 1952 and 54, and then had to return to finish my PhD, although it was impossible to do so at Yale because of the arrangement of the curriculum and the need that I had to be helped by the GI Bill. So I had decided then to go and finish my PhD either at the University of California in Berkeley or at the University of Michigan. The two choices determined by the fact that there were scholars who were teaching at those two institutions whose work I admired and I wanted to work with them. I had originally decided to go to Berkeley, but then a faculty member there named Manfred Buchholzer died suddenly, and I knew that the program would be in a kind of tentative state for quite a while, so I finished my PhD at the University of Michigan. After that, I actually in the interim, before I finished my PhD, when I got out of the Army in 1954, I was appointed to the music faculty of Colorado College in Colorado Springs, a very fine liberal arts institution. There I taught all of the music histories and the music theory classes. Eventually, however, I had not at this time finished my PhD yet. I was working towards it during the summers, but one had to leave I had to leave my position at Colorado College in order to attend full time because universities don't award PhDs for part-time students or summertime students. So I left my position at Colorado College and enrolled at the University of Michigan, got my PhD. I had a Fulbright research grant. I went to France with my family with two daughters, one 1-year-old and one 3-year-old. At the time, it was quite an adventure. This was between September of 1960 and August of 1961. I returned to the country determined to look for a position in which I would not be so much involved in music, teaching prospective performers or composers. I had always been much more interested in music as a kind of manifestation of culture rather than in the technical aspects of it. My undergraduate degree isn't even in music, it's in fine arts and English. My master's degree from Yale is in music history, and my PhD from the University of Michigan is in musicology. After I returned, I was teaching in a school in Long Beach, New York, a near-in suburb of New York City, and I received a phone call from Wilburn Ross, who was a professor at Wayne State University, but also at the time the acting director, not yet dean, of Monteith College. Monteith College had been created by a grant of $500,000 from the Ford Foundation, awarded in 1958. First class at Monteith College came to the university in September of 1959. I arrived in 1962, so I was not among the very first faculty members, but I was there in the early years and stayed at Monteith until the college was phased out by the university. Now, Monteith College was created as a unit in order to promote general education. University undergraduate curriculums usually are divided into three different areas. There's the major, which is the thing that most people think of as being appropriate to a college education, the area in which you want to specialize. There are the courses, the required courses, the general education courses, which people often think about as those things that I have to get out of the way before I get down to studying the reason I'm really here, to gain experience and knowledge in a particular area. And then there are elective courses. The objective of Monteith was to develop a much more coherent and unified program in general education that engaged the students not only from their first and second years, but throughout their entire four-year career, and didn't provide a general education curriculum like most universities did, where you were choosing like a menu in a restaurant. You have one introductory level course here, one introductory level course there, one introductory level course somewhere else, and perhaps an intermediate level course in order to satisfy the requirements, which usually was completed sometimes at the conclusion of the sophomore year. The objective of Monteith, as I said, was to develop a series of divisional sequence of classes that had within each one of those divisions an array of faculty members representing a wide range of disciplines. In my case, there was a division of humanistic studies, which in a way also was a kind of unit devoted to comparative arts. There were historians, literature people, complete philosophers. I was engaged as the musicologist, the music person on this faculty. And as I said, I had never heard of Monteith College until I got this phone call from Woodburn Ross, as I said, a distinguished professor of English at Wayne State, who had led a committee in the college, the then College of Liberal Arts, now the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, to develop a coherent program in general education. He had heard about me from, I imagine, some people at the University of Michigan, called me up, and I came out to Detroit on a very cold, wintry February morning, a flight I think that to this day was the worst flight I've ever been on. It was cold and awfully mean, and I found out very quickly that Monteith was very different from my previous academic experience as a member of the music faculty at Colorado College. I met the faculty members. I gave a talk in one of the classes. I had lunch. I was shepherded around the campus, which looked nothing then like it looks now. And they offered me an appointment. That's something that doesn't happen these days. You don't go for a first interview and receive a job offer, but it happened to me at that time. And I came to Monteith because the type of program that it developed was very much in line with my own kind of commitments to the arts and to general education in general. And I stayed on at Monteith. As I said, initially, I was a music person on a division of humanistic studies and comparative arts that contained maybe about a dozen people. Eventually, I became chair of that division. And then when in December of 1975, the university, for a variety of reasons, some public, some not so public, decided to phase out the college. And I was asked to serve as the acting dean during the phase-out period. I referred to that as the ultimate in academic terminal appointments, appointed the dean of an already phased out college. That's a job with a negative.
Let me jump in, Marty, and that is, would you say that the 60s were really the period of the highlights of Monteith, or when it flourished the most?
Well, I was very committed to what Monteith did. And as you commented earlier, Henry, there were students who came to Monteith, which was thought by some to be an honors college, but it was not. Any student who was admissible to Wayne State University could elect to come to Monteith. And in the early years, when the Monteith program was not terribly well known, it took a certain type of individual who was willing to commit himself or herself to being exposed to this different type of education. Some people loved it, other people didn't. It was not unusual for people who had originally enrolled in Monteith to leave at the end of the first or second year, but that was a situation that prevailed throughout the university, regardless of the unit. As I said, I was asked to serve as acting dean. It was a very abrasive type situation. There was a lot of hostility between units of of Monteith and the rest of the university. I presume that President Gullin asked me to serve as acting dean because I was one of the few people left who was still talking to the students, to the faculty, and to the administration. And so I did. At one point in my career, I was concurrently the chairman of Humanistic Studies at Monteith, the acting dean of Monteith, and the chairman of the Humanities Department in the College of Liberal Arts. I had 3 offices. I used to keep the business for each one of those positions in a different office because sometimes they could get mixed up. And amusingly, Henry, you as an attorney will appreciate this. The Wayne State faculty was unionized, and consequently, when recommendations for promotion and tenure were received, there were all kinds of procedures that had to be followed. And at one point during the time when I held 3 appointments for one of my colleagues, I had to write a recommendation as chair of the Division of Humanistic Studies addressed to myself as acting dean of the college, and write another recommendation as acting dean before it went up to the administration. I find that to be quite droll, but that's an interesting anecdote. And then after Monteith was phased out, and you had asked about what the task involved was of the acting dean to phase out. It was essentially to be certain that the students who were enrolled in the college got the education they had chosen to pursue, and also to see to the reassignment of those faculty members who want to stay on. That was problematic because the faculty members who would stay on at Wayne State and be received at different units of the College of Liberal Arts, their salaries didn't go with them. Their salaries had to be found within the budgets of the receiving department. So it was that was a problematic job, seeing to the students, and also trying to find appropriate positions for faculty members and staff members who wanted to stay on.
Marty, let me jump in again. Why was Monteith phased out? It was phased out during the 70s, is that correct?
Well, the public reason was financial. You know, the Michigan economy, usually when the economy is going strong, is right at the top, and when it is not doing so well, is right at the bottom. This was at one of the unfortunate, moments when the budget, the economic situation was low, and the university was forced to economize. Now, the Monteith budget was 0.6% of the university budget. It didn't take up an awful lot of money. That was the public reason. There was a lot of outcry when the president of Monteith, George Gullen, at the time, chose to take action almost unilaterally in a budgetary way. Academics, even those who were not very pleased with Monteith, objected to that. And then that notion was retracted, and the whole process was initiated that went through the University Council, now the Academic Senate, in order to cross the T's and dot the I's of academic administration and the college. It was, as I say, a very abrasive situation. Monteith, the faculty members at Monteith and those in the College of Liberal Arts, with some exceptions, did not see eye to eye on very many things. I think the fault was equally divided. Myself, having served prior to my service at Monteith in a music department, my natural home at any university would be the music department, and I quickly made friends and colleagues at the music department, which is something that other Monteith faculty members didn't do. There was a certain amount of hostility between faculty elements in the College of Liberal Arts and those at Monteith, which only added, coal to the fire when the whole issue of phasing out the college became.
Marty, do you consider Monteith a success? What do you think?
I think it was a success. I can cite for you a study that was conducted by the Center for the Study of Higher Education at the University of Berkeley, at the University of California at Berkeley, that took place in the 70s. It was a 3-year study that involved not only questionnaires, but site visitors by members of that faculty. 16 colleges and universities throughout the country, some of them freestanding colleges, some of them colleges within larger universities, public universities, private universities, universities located in urban centers, universities located in urban areas, universities located in agricultural areas were all included. And at the end of that study, they concluded that Monteith students who graduated from the program showed the most advanced intellectual propensity. That was their word. And the definition of propensity was their success at being admitted to high quality graduate and professional programs around the country. Yeah.
My thought, reflecting on my role and career at Monteith, was that it was great preparation for either a graduate career going for a PhD or a professional school. But if you stopped with and we had a Bachelor of Philosophy was the degree, if you stopped there, I think then there were problems. And I just looked at it as really, it was a way to teach a different mindset, to have you thinking in a different manner. And, it was almost a lot of the Socratic method was used. And to me, it was a great success. It was a wonderful time in my life. And, I appreciated all you did because you were in charge of my senior thesis. Let's go on to another area. Since
Let me, before we do that, let me say one thing. Remember, the entire Monteith curriculum took up something less than half of a student's undergraduate career. Consequently, Monteith students, if they so wish, could satisfy the requirement for a major in any one of the departments in the College of Liberal Arts. Monteith was not there to replace the College of Liberal Arts. It was to enhance the quality of undergraduate general education. And we had joint programs with the law school, for example. We served as the undergraduate unit when the School of Social Work wanted to develop a bachelor's of social work. Prior to that, they had only offered a master's degree, but they needed an undergraduate college with which to partner in developing their bachelor's degree in social work, and they did so with Monteith. No, and Monteith students, as I say, I think you're partially right, Henry, but I think that there were some Monteith students who chose not to satisfy the requirements of a major in the College of Liberal Arts. That was one option. They took a smorgasbord of courses drawn from either classes offered by Monteith faculty members outside of the regular divisional sequences and the subsequent requirements at the junior and senior level. Remember, at no time at Monteith was the Monteith curriculum more the students who were following the Monteith curriculum never were engaged at Monteith for more than half of the time that they had. The other half, they could choose to do a lot of different things.
That's true, yeah. Let's go to your post. You retired in 1992, I believe, yes. But you're still not retired. Some of the activities, first of all, tell us about SOAR, which you're one of the founders of.
Yes. In the late 1990s and the early 2000s, many colleges and universities were developing programs, broadly speaking, lifelong learning programs that were addressed to the retired community in general. People were living longer. A lot of people wanted to do something other than sit in front of their television sets and watch reruns of game shows or whatever. And Wayne State began to develop such a program in the late 1990s. We were somewhat behind the curve. There were a lot of schools and colleges that had already done that. Initially, the committee that was vested with the responsibility of developing that program, consisting of some community members as well as the unit that dealt with gerontology at Wayne State and others, had a difficult time. But in 2001, 2002, a group of faculty members, and kind of recently retired. I was not so recently retired. It was already 7 or 8 years since I'd retired. Got together and kind of partnered with this group, and we developed this program called SOAR, SOAR being an acronym for Society of Active Retirees. When we developed it, and we drew, the university was very supportive. Other colleges and universities had to find space for the that had programs like this, had to find space for the program. The university provided us not only with some seed money, but also with free office and classroom space at the then Oakland Center. The Oakland Center has since been closed. So we began, all of the faculty members contributed their services pro bono. None of us got paid, and we were able to keep the tuition or membership fees very low. I mean, had some office personnel, secretaries, somebody to administer the program. When we began in the fall of 2003, we thought maybe 50, 75 people would appear, 200 appeared to our delight. And through the years, up through last year, the program kept developing until we regularly had about 800 members registered for a 6-week fall term that began in October and concluded the week before Thanksgiving, and a spring term. We concluded the fall term, not this fall, the last fall term, before the coronavirus appeared on the scene, and we had just planned our winter program when we had to cancel it because of the coronavirus, and now we've been working to provide via Zoom and other media our program. And as I mentioned earlier, we are in now the fourth week, I believe, of the fall term, and it's been quite successful. We've had about 500 members who have stuck with us.
Marty, tell us about iDetroit. You were pictured there, you were selected, it's a book. Tell our viewers a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. For reasons, because of my involvement in a lot of different activities, the Avalon Bakery is a bakery located a few blocks south of Wayne State and a favorite hangout of many Wayne Staters, both students and faculty members. They were expanding. They were quite successful, and they developed a program called Avalon Needs, KNEADS, Detroit Needs Avalon. And they were interviewing a person identified for one each week. I was sandwiched between Carl Levin and I don't remember the other person, but the owner of the Avalon Bakery was an acquaintance of mine. And so I was interviewed. Soon thereafter, I received an email note from the people in this project, the iDetroit. I thought it was a scam. I said, what's this all about? And so I didn't respond. Finally, they contacted me again. I looked at the names of the sponsors, some very responsible foundation of people. I said, well, maybe this isn't a scam. Now, at the time, I had no idea how I was nominated to be one. This was a program that was to develop what they called an atlas of Detroit. 100 Detroiters who had been engaged in different elements and aspects of the city's life were identified by a nominating process, which I was totally unaware. I subsequently found out that I had been nominated for this, and then I of the 100 was I became part of the program. Yes.
Marty, let me jump in. We're literally running out of time, but I want to ask you really, you are an example of our tagline for Gracefully Graying, which is living life fully. What is some advice that you would like to give to our viewers and those of us who are in the demographics of 15 over or with aging parents and are gracefully graying?
Yes, the advice is not original with me. Keep engaged. There's no single way that you can keep engaged. Find something that you enjoy doing. Find something that you think works well, and just keep yourself engaged. All of us who have served as faculty members at SOAR have, many of us are retired, and we want to share what we've known and learned over our careers with other interested people. And interestingly, there are a fair number of SOAR faculty members who are still active faculty members in their institutions. And I've often asked some of them, I won't name one of them, he happens to be a rather distinguished professor, why do you keep coming back to SOAR when you're still active? I said, the rewards of the profession don't go to people who teach, retirees pro bono. And his response was, well, he said, it's a lot more fun talking to 80 or 100 people who are interested, engaged, and looking at 80 students who are looking at me saying, teach me something, I dare you.
So we're out of time. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Martin Herman, my professor. I want to thank you so much for being our guest on Gracefully Graying, and I want to thank our viewers for watching Gracefully Graying. Please don't hesitate to view us on our YouTube channel, and of course, like and watch our Gracefully Graying site. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. It was good to reconnect.